Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's April the 8th, and this will be our chart lesson for the day. And it's another range day today, really. We traded, for the most part, we traded within the overnight highs. Overnight highs are up here, overnight lows are here, and you can see we traded within that all day. So that's just a range day. We actually broke out well, but this is right into the close, so for the most part, we really are in a range day today. And we had a little spike and mild channel down, and then we had a little spike and mild channel back up. And we did close really almost on the highs for the day, and we're right there close to that 4100. We're inching closer and closer to it. I think 4104, 4105 was the target, so that I had on the daily chart. And it doesn't mean we can't go higher than that. Don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a sell-off after that. Here was the target I was looking for today. We didn't quite get that. Let me just back out here a little bit where I can show you where that was coming from. You can see that leg up there, and then we had this correction, and there's a two-legged correction. This second leg is just kind of weak down, and we didn't quite make that target. So once we started up, you measure that leg and you start from the low point, and so that's where I got that target from. And we didn't make it. We got before the day. It didn't look like we were even going to get close, but at the last very end of the day, we rocketed on up a little bit here, and we missed it by 6 points or so, 7 points, something like that. So um, anyway, that's what I was looking at today, and again, it's just a range day. I didn't really put the range on there till I'm just trying to back out later in the day, so we don't even really need this. It didn't come into play. Oops. I don't know what I did there. It didn't really come into play, so I'm going to take it off just so it doesn't clutter up the chart. But let me back out here. We'll go over the trades, and we'll wrap this day up and wrap up the week. No chart lessons on Friday, so this will be it for the week, and we'll be back again Monday to start over again. But anyway, we had a trend down, little correction, so then we'd start our next leg down. So we were still in a downtrend here, and it turns out we got a little mild two-tiered channel on the way down. Notice the break, moved to a new low, and then we reversed. Perfect price action, really. And this one, we spiked up and went into the flatter channel again, just like the last one. Then a break, moved to a new high, then we corrected again before we shot up at the end. So again, perfect price action. But let's start with the first trade. 7 o'clock came right in here. This was a little congestive, but we had this one leg down. You would expect prices to at least try to attempt to make a new low here. And notice you made this high. You try to go higher once, twice. So there's like a double test, a failed second entry long, and this broke higher first and turned down, and it closed very bearish. I like going short there. You could have considered going short on an engulfing bar, but it's a little bit sideways there. But when this bar ended so bearish, if you went short there, what you might do is let it break lower and drop a limit order or a tick or so back just to get a little better entry. If you try to get too conservative with that, you'll miss these trades, and it would have worked either way, so it didn't really matter. We didn't make a new low. We just came back, and then we really kind of confirmed that trend line already, but this just kind of gave you more confidence that, hey, yeah, this trend line's right. Unfortunately, it's just a first entry there. It is off that key entry point. But I think you need to wait on a lower high, and that comes here. And I didn't mark this lower high. You could have, if prices would have broke below it, you could have taken that. But when we ended up with this next bar here, then you really just had to kind of wait for another setup. And then it tried to go higher again and failed and gave you this bearish bar on a second entry short and a lower high as well. So now I like the trade much better, and that's a really nice entry. And then this was actually a failure here. I wasn't crazy about it because there's some support across there, and you can see that. So you really need to make sure you got room to get out before this low. So again, you might have to let it break lower and then drop a limit order or a tick or so back and see if you could have got filled. I don't know if you could have or not. So I made that one green for that reason. And we continue to work lower, but I don't see any other trades here that were worth taking in my opinion. And of course, then we bounce off the lows. And notice here, even on this micro trend, we got an overshoot, a break, and we still try to move to a new low before we bounced. There's actually two full legs up here, and that's the first close outside our trend line there. And you got a nice bearish bar. I like going short just one tick below that. And again, prices take on, and we're looking for it to retest the low. That's what we're looking for there. And you don't get a lower high or anything like that here. We just kind of run on down to the lows. We did try to go higher twice there, but I don't like entering right there at the very lows. I don't think it's worth it. So we do bounce. There is a failed second entry short here, but this thing closed well below the EMA. Of course, if it breaks higher, it's going to be above the EMA, but it's still inside that channel. No better setup than that. I think you just got to wait. And we really didn't, I mean, this is where you had to be really patient. We had that trade around 9 o'clock, and we didn't get another really good trade till after 10, so over an hour. So it was really kind of a slow day here, just not much going on. But we do run on up, and then we just kind of work sideways here. And you can see we had a little failure at the top, then a little failure at the bottom. I do like possibly going long here. The only problem is there's not much room back to the highs. So if you entered here, you had to let it break higher and drop a limit order a little further back and see if you could have got filled, just to make sure you got room to get out before you get back to this line. And then, of course, we get two legs up, and then it turns down. And here you got enough room to get out. Big bearish bar. I like that one. And the bias is still somewhat down here. But it does turn up, and that does create a new trend line right there and kind of confirm it. You really got extra confirmation here. It's a shame this bar was so big because you get two legs back here, and it does confirm that trend line, and we did break out of this range here. So there's a good chance we're going higher, but you just don't get a good setup to go with it until way over here. And this did turn out to be a good setup, but notice this swing low, it's lower than that one. So you really got a new count right off the trend line. You try to go lower once, and it broke lower here on a second entry short and failed and went higher. And when it broke out that upper side, I like going long one tick above that bar. But if this wasn't right at that very high, even here, I still probably wouldn't have a problem going long one tick above that bar because we're probably going to the upper side of the channel here. They trapped the shorts here, and you can tell by look how quick it rocketed up. That's a sure sign that there's a trap. Okay, I'm sorry, I had an interruption there. It's tax time, and my accountant's calling. I had to stop and answer that one, so I apologize. Let's see here. I think we were talking about this trade here. It's a failed second entry short, and it's also, notice the new swing high. Actually, it's a double top, so you count that as a new swing high. So first entry and then second entry. This is not a great second entry, but the fact that it's a failure, plus it's a short trap and a short trap in an uptrend, when this breaks higher, I guarantee you there were shorts loading up here. And when it broke higher, you can see how it rockets up, so you know you got them trapped. That's the good thing about traps. You get instant feedback on them, and there's your feedback right there. The way that shot up, that's what caused that, because they got all the shorts trapped, and they all got to exit, and the new longs come in and load up. And okay, I'm sorry, another interruption there. We were still talking about that trade, and we just went sideways back to the other side of the trend line. There's a bounce off the trend line and the key entry point right there. It's just out of that congestion though. If you took that trade, I wouldn't beat you up over it, but I don't like it just because of all that congestion. And look how many times we turned down off the center of that thing right there, and it's just I think it's too risky. The fact that it's off the key entry point and a little failed break lower makes it very tempting. But you can see it did get enough to get a scalp, but I'm just not crazy about it. But it comes back down, you get a first entry, and then it breaks lower right here and turns up. So when it broke higher there, that's a second entry long at the key entry point and at this support at the EMA and it closes above the EMA. You could enter that on an engulfing bar, meaning you put your buy stop one tick above that after it broke lower and turned up. But I wouldn't have a problem going long above that bar right there because we'd already pushed higher once. And when you get this inside bar, it makes you kind of question should you go long there. But I could almost guarantee you we're going to go higher there. So I like that one. I like entering on the engulfing bar one tick above this one, but I wouldn't be afraid to enter there at all. Not since we already broke higher there and came back, because they got a little double trap. What they did was they trapped out the longs when they turned it back down, and they probably got some more shorts to jump in that don't know what's going on, and then suddenly it's running up the other direction. So, and that takes us into the close. So not a lot of trades today. It was a really quiet day. I'm pretty sure I talked about this trade right here. I hope I did. It's just a short off the range after 3 attempts to go higher there. Maybe I missed that one. I just don't remember talking about it. I hope I didn't miss it. But it is 3 attempts to go higher, a nice bearish bar, enough room back to the lows, and then a possible trend line up through there. At this point, that's not confirmed. You're just really playing that range. Let's say if we take that off, you can clearly see that range right there. And that's what you're playing. And then of course this was the trap. This was a really good setup right here. I like that one. And there's a good chance that you know this is going to fail because you're looking for this measured leg up, which you can see we got to before we corrected. We actually went a little bit higher, and so I was really anticipating that failure there, and it played out perfectly. So anyway, that's what I saw today. Another quiet kind of range day. We're still heading towards, if you've been following us, you know my target has been, my near-term target's been 41 something. I'll just put it on the chart here. You can see it, 4105.50, and we closed the day at 498.50. So not far. Looks like 5 or 6 points there, and doesn't mean we can't go higher either. So don't get me wrong there. Let me just measure this exactly. I mean I have that exactly on the. Yep, that puts it. That actually makes it 4111.50 is my target. So just get that down to a little closer now that we're narrowing in on that target. So again, you can see that 4111.50. And the reason the way I got that is just these 2 legs here. We measure this first leg, and there's your second leg, and we're real close. And when we first started looking at this, we were in this little bit of we had this little double top with the congestion here, and we talked about it needing to get out of there. Once it did, it didn't take long. We had a couple of little days off right there where we just kind of consolidated before we pushed higher again today, and we're real close. So we'll see if we go any higher or if we'll meet that target and sell off. But that's my short-term target, and it wouldn't surprise me if we sell off a little bit after that because we're overdue for a correction. I mean, we hadn't had a big correction since back in March. When was this? What was this date here? This was March 4th, early March. So we haven't had a nice correction since early March. Prior to that, it was back in early February. So it looks like about towards the first of each month where we've been kind of correcting off, and we're a little bit late on this one. So actually we did correct here. I think this was early March. No, that was the end of March. So we haven't really had that correction for April yet. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it coming here. And I don't mean we're going to sell off or it's the end of the rally or anything like that. I just mean we're going to be overdue for a correction. So it's probably coming soon. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, tomorrow's Friday, no chart lessons on Friday, so this is going to wrap up the week. I'll probably take off early tomorrow, enjoy the rest of my weekend. But hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.